Folks, welcome to In the Blues. Happy New Year to you all for 2019. And today we have the Warwick 3.0 RockBoard pedalboard, which is they were very kind to send out to me just before Christmas. So I've had a bit of time with it and wired it up, and very keen to show you all the features of it. It comes with a very sturdy carry case, which also has a carry strap as well, if you want to just slip it over your shoulder. I'm one of these lazy musos that likes to do the loading from my car in one trip if I can, so one of these carry straps which just connects up, just makes it a lot easier to throw it over your shoulder, and yeah, then you have your guitar on your back and your amp in one hand and whatever. So yeah, it works well. So we'll dive into it and I'll show you what it's all about. Okay, so it comes with this shroud, I guess you'd call it. Yeah, it all looks very fancy, but I guess, and look, I don't know if I'd take this to the gigs. I'm usually so knackered after gigs, I just sort of throw it in the case and away we go. But it probably just keeps the pedals in a little bit better nick, stops them getting bashed around. So we'll get it out and I'll show you what's involved. Okay. So here's the board, and I guess one of the big differences between the RockBoard and something like the pedal train is that the RockBoard is made from one piece of cold rolled aluminium. So you will not find one weld joint on this beast. It's all just one flat piece which is bent into the right shape. It's got the rubber feet on the bottom as well, and the slotted construction obviously makes it very straightforward as far as running cables and trying to keep it as neat as possible. So yeah, I've got a pedal train board too, and yeah, I do appreciate the differences in the design and just the utility of this one. So RockBoard also design a series of patch bays that fit into the pedal boards, and that's just screwed in with a couple of these tiny screws here. And this patch bay, look, it's actually quite sensible. My other pedal board, I just you know, I run the power cable into the power supply and then just plug into the pedals. But what the patch bay does is centralize all the connections. So each one of these 5 inputs here has a corresponding output on the undersurface of the board. So what I've done is input A is the input into the first pedal on the board, and then from the corresponding A on the back of the board, that runs a patch cable into my first pedal, which is this one here, the Cocoa Boost. And then out of the last pedal, which is a flashback delay from TC Electronics, it just runs into this number C here, and then when I plug into my amp, I just run a cable out of C there. So it's great. And of course my power goes into this IEC inlet here, and then on the bottom of the patch bay I've got an IEC power outlet that runs the cable into the power supply. So again, it just keeps it very neat. Everything goes in and out of this patch bay, as opposed to having, you know, separate areas for the power supply and separate plugging into the pedal and out of the pedals. So now the power supply that Warwick have sent out is called the Power Pit, and I think it's a fantastic unit. I think it compares very well to some of the Voodoo Lab power supplies. I have a Voodoo Lab power supply on my other pedal board, but yeah, I'd love to show you some of the features of this one. So the Power Pit from RockBoard, I think it's a really flexible power supply. These days you've got pedals that can run, obviously a majority of pedals run off 9 volts, but there are some that can run off 18, and the first output on the RockBoard is adjustable via this voltage selector switch. It can run from 9 to 12 to 15 to 18, and the maximum current is 150 milliamps. So I'm actually, the first pedal on this board is a Sir Coco Boost, and it can run from 9 to 18 volts, and basically they say that if you run it at 18 volts you get more headroom. So I've got that running on 18 volts out of that first output. And the following three outputs, the voltages are adjustable from 8 to 9 volts. I don't know if it's an urban myth, I haven't heard it myself, but there are some fuzzers, some people that say they tube screamers sound better if they're running a bit under 9 volts, you know, like old dog ears Eric Johnson can hear between different brands of 9 volt batteries, etc. Anyway, if you want to disappear into that black hole, this gives you the flexibility of running voltages from 8 to 9 volt. I'll just demonstrate it. There's a small pot that adjusts the voltage on these three outputs. So if you just keep an eye maybe in the LED window there, it's currently at 9.3 volts, and we'll just pop this bit of metal in here, which always goes against my better judgment. Let's put a metal thing into a live electrical box. So folks, this could be it for me. Anyway.
I know a doctor, mate, you'll be fine.
Do you? Okay, good, good. So as you can see, as we wind it back, the voltage is dropping. Okay, so it's dropped down to 8 volts. So you can, yeah, it's obviously continuously adjustable between 8 and 9, if you want to do that sort of thing. So, but I just run everything at 9 because I'm boring and I'm so deaf that it probably doesn't make any difference to me anyway. And then there's another 4 outputs here that are not adjustable. They're all 9 volt, and the maximum of current for all 4 of these put together is 500 milliamps. So look, there are some pedals like the Strymons that are very greedy. I think they take about at least 350 milliamps to run, in which case you would probably use one of these here. They've got quite a high current output. But for a vast majority of pedals, the power pit will be more than adequate for the job. It's a very solid, solidly constructed power supply, and I've actually just attached it to the bottom of the board using some 3M dual lock, just a couple of strips of that, and it's absolutely rock solid. It ain't moving anywhere. So the Rockboard came with a whole bunch of 9 volt cables to connect pedals to the power pit. I will say though that all the cables were the same length, which is fine when I was hooking up just the pedals that were obviously closest to the power supply. But for the furthest 2, I actually had to borrow some power cables from my good mate Shane here to reach it. So yeah, that would be certainly some constructive feedback for Warwick, that it would be great if they would include some longer power cables with the power pit, so that you could connect up the pedals on the other end of the board. But as you can see, I guess just with the slotted arrangement and this sort of central, almost like a cable tidy here at the bottom of the board, it's enabled me to run the cables pretty neatly, and obviously it also came with a million cable ties as well, so we've been able to sort of wire it up quite neatly, and for example the power cable here just runs in this cable tidy. It just keeps everything nice and neat there. It just means that after the gig I just throw it in the case, and I don't have to worry about things working their way loose, because everything's very sturdily and securely tied down. So overall, look, I'm really impressed with the build quality and the utility of this Rockboard. It just makes sense. It's built strong. It feels very roadworthy. This patch bay, I think, is a really good idea. I know that there are other pedalboard manufacturers. Friedman comes to mind, that come with a patch bay, and I think his one also comes with a buffered patch bay, which is, you know, I guess even another step up as far as the you know, providing a buffer between the effects and the amp. But this patch bay just makes perfect sense to me. I know on my other pedal board I have to, you know, plug into my first one and plug into the last, and I just think this makes better sense for it to all run from a central position, and the same with the power as well. So overall, thank you so much to Warwick Farmers Germany for sending this out. I think it's a really roadworthy, useful bit of kit. Thanks for joining us in the Blues. We'll catch you soon.